close with the mic check.
He's the mic's working now? Okay.
Am I live?
We are live. He's not on. Is he on?
I'm on? Am I on?
Yeah, you're on now. You got to
All
talk close to it. Just like, you know what?
Right.
Dave Henderson here. Hi, I'm Doc G. This is Hamilton Radio Live. And I have the mayoral candidate for Hamilton with me, David Henderson. Welcome him, please.
Gene, thanks a lot for having me. It's great studio you have here. Great setup. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, Ruben and I've done it, and we're hoping that we stay here a while and maybe, expand a little other places. But thank you for that. I appreciate that.
All right.
We don't have a lot of time. We only have an hour, but we're welcoming call-ins too at 609-807-2492. That's 609-807-2492. Before I ask Dave some questions, I want Dave just to give a little background. He'll probably cover a lot of these questions of who he is. He's actually a good friend of mine. I've known Dave a long time. And just tell us a little bit about yourself.
Thanks. So I'm a Hamilton resident. Grew up in Hamilton. Went to high schools in Hamilton. Went to Holy Angels Grammar School, St. Anthony's Catholic High School. Went away to college. I've always made my home in Hamilton. I've had one child right now who is in Hamilton Public Schools, and I've had 4 children who've attended Hamilton Public Schools. Currently a father, a grandfather. I've been active in the community, youth sports, adult sports, played a lot of adult basketball and adult football and adult softball. Coached in youth baseball, Little League, Babe Ruth, coached in Pop Warner football. And I just like to contribute to the community. I've been involved in a number of charity events, supported a number of charity events. I wanted to be mayor, not really. I am not a politician. I've never been in public office. I've never run for public office. But I want to be mayor now because I think we need to change the way things are done in Hamilton. I'm not happy with the politics, the cronyism, and the corruption. And I'm not happy with the way the budget is managed, the way the financial aspects of the township are managed, and I'm not happy with the infrastructure, the animal shelter, and I'm not really happy with too many things in Hamilton. And I think there's a lot of areas where we can improve. We need to improve. It's a critical time in our lifetimes, and we need change.
Oh yeah, I definitely agree with that. All that you said. But let me start you off on one of these questions here. I have, and anybody wants to email again, they can email me if they want to. They don't want to call, they can do that too. Just give me a second here. Let me find you where you're at. Okay. All right. You already answered about 3 questions. Let me ask you, let's start out with the big question. What about the property taxes?
Well, under the current administration, the property tax has gone up 15% in the last 6 years. I think that's a big jump. And I think the majority of the reason that the property taxes have been skyrocketing with what appears to be a tax and spend Republican, which is not supposed to be the way it's supposed to be. I think there's a lot of inefficiency in our government, a lot of inefficiency in our municipal services, and I think that there's not sufficient enough and quality economic development to bring ratables to the town to offset the tax burden of our residents. And first, let's talk a little bit about inefficiency in government. I think we have a great workforce. One thing I've learned in my many years, my 45 years experience, many of which have been a manager on a number of levels. One thing I've learned is that workers want to do a good job, and it's incumbent upon managers to give the workers the tools to do that good job. They need to give them quality training, quality tools, both physical tools and conceptual tools, and they need to give them a clear-cut goal. I've As most of you know, I've done quite a few OPA requests, Open Public Records Act. I've done OPA requests because despite the verbiage, the talk that there's transparent and open government, there really isn't. So I've been forced to do OPA requests to get the information that I needed to get, and those OPA requests indicate that there's really not any standard operating procedures. There's no plan. For the most part, they just send people out to do work. Go out and cut the grass. We got these parks to do. Go cut the grass. And I think that efficiency of operations is paramount. One of the things that I've been tasked with in a number of my companies that I've worked for, we need to have a plan. We need to say, Cooser Park, we need 3 workers with 3 lawnmowers and 2 workers with 2 weed whackers, and it's going to take them 4 hours, and they know what's expected of them, and we know what our expectations are, so that we can put together a realistic budget and a realistic plan. I think that one of the things that is also unfair to our workers is that they have them doing many, many different kinds of jobs, and one of the jobs that they do is paving, and that's been a little bit of a pet peeve of mine. I think the infrastructure of roads in Hamilton Township is horrendous. I think that they've not been kept up. We see a little flurry of activity right now because, after all, it is an election year. And our mayor likes to hold everything back and blow it up during election year so people say, oh, look at how much is being done. I think that it's a disservice to our workers who have to be jacks of all trade. To be a good paving crew, you need to pave. You need to do paving all the time. One of the things that I'd like to utilize in our moving forward would be our direct hire union agreements. We have direct hire union agreements. I've had it for about a year, haven't used it once. The administration has not chosen to use it. The legislative branch, the council, has not chosen to motivate the administration to do it. Again, to our workforce, they're expected to do everything. Well, to be good at something, you really have to do it a lot, and there's no reason why we can't use the direct hire agreement to bring workers, plumbers out of the Local 9 Plumber Hall who are plumbing experts that would do different tasks, do their plumbing and pipe fitting work in the township under the direct hire agreement. The other portion of the answer to your question, Gene, is good economic development. Let's bring better ratables to the town.
Yes.
We need to focus more on white collar and blue collar applications for development in Hamilton Township. We need some professional corporations to come to town, and all that improves the quality of life, improves the standard of living, and improves our property values. And good ratables help reduce taxes.
Oh yeah, definitely. I definitely agree with what you're saying. But the other issues, of course, are with the town, the budget, and I can only speak what I see as well. That a lot of people don't go to these meetings. That's been one of my pet peeves for years. That a lot of people, they don't get involved and they don't go to these meetings and they don't know what it's all about. They're kind of busy doing their lives and 9 to 5. Would you be able to change that? How would you change that? Would you make it more different during the day or later at night, or would you like do 2-3 times maybe a month? Would you change that?
That's it's an interesting question.
To get involved.
It's an interesting question, Gene, and I think that's been one of my drives over the last year and a half. I don't know if you know, but I live feed on Facebook our council meetings now, and I think that's generated a tremendous amount of interest. And I got a lot of pushback in the beginning. My questions initially were, why aren't they videoed? Why aren't they broadcast? Look, most of the citizens have hectic lives. People work. A lot of people don't work in town. We have couples that both work. Kids have ball games, soccer games, baseball games, whatever they have. People can't fit it into their schedule to come to the meeting. And in the electronic and the television age that we have and the media age that we have, there's no reason why they shouldn't have access to those services and those meetings at their fingertips. Why? Tell me why, Gene. Why can't it be recorded by the township for on-demand broadcast so that when Mr. and Mrs. Public come home at 10 o'clock at night and the kids are in bed, they can sit there and watch the council meeting? And another factor, our mayor and our administration talks about transparency in government, talks about open government, and they just don't do that. They have suppressed the individual's right and desire to see what's going on. One of the problems over the last 12 years, we have an outspoken guy, Dennis Pone, who used to be on council. He's outspoken. He's a clear liar. He misrepresents everything in favor of his little circle. And he claims that everything was great for the 12 years he was on council. Well, everything wasn't great. But the free exchange of ideas was stifled. Nobody talked about anything. They were a rubber stamp. And the mayor, when she was on council, it was the same way. She was originally on council with Kenny and Pone and that crew, and they rubber stamped everything for the then mayor. So we need to have open government. I'd like somebody in our government, in the legislative body, the council, and somebody in the administration to answer the question. Legislative body, the council, passed more than a year ago authorized funds to broadcast the council meetings. I'd like to know why it hasn't been done yet. Why hasn't it been done? Why isn't it on our webpage so that mom and pop public can look at it at 10 o'clock at night after they put the kids to bed, or Saturday morning while they're having their coffee? Why did it have to be constrained to a 6:30 meeting on a Tuesday night?
Dave, we're here. We would be glad to broadcast it.
Well, you know what? There's a council meeting tonight. And when I go to the council meeting tonight, I'm going to be live streaming it on Facebook. And I'm going to tell them that you're willing to come in and
Absolutely.
do it. Because look, why don't they use those resources? Why haven't they gone? There's media classes and video classes in all three of the high schools. Wouldn't it be great to have the high schools go in and do that? They would get that experience. They would have that exposure, and the public would get to see what they have to see. Open, and I will promise you, when I'm elected mayor, we will have open government. Everything will be on our webpage. It will be accessible. The budget won't be hidden. The budget will be put up on the website. Right now we have a controversy about the Department of Health inspection that was done back in August at the animal shelter, and there's a subcommittee of the legislative body, the council, that has done a study and released a report. And the public can't find either of those. They can't find the DOH study. They can't find the subcommittee report because our government, our administration, hide it. They don't want you to know.
Yeah, because if you don't know, then you don't. I mean, you can't make any waves or say anything.
Well, they're mad at me for making waves.
No, I'm
me.
glad you're making waves. I'm glad we have somebody like you that can make waves and point it to people. This is what the problem is. This is how we fix the problem. Let's fix it. That's what we need to do. But let's get some more questions here. By the way, if anybody's calling, they can. I have a couple of friends that are listening, and they love what you're saying. But we talked a little bit about the spending budget, okay? Now, you said the budget went up.
Budget was the proposed budget that was presented by the mayor increased by $3.5 million this year. But her budget has increased every year that she's been in office. There's been no belt tightening, no efficiency of government. And, as I said, there are some things that always go up. Electric bills go up, labor contracts have natural accelerators, and we understand that happens. But there are other areas where we can be more efficient and we can save money.
Well, that's what you're trying to do, is find the spaces to save the money. We were talking earlier about a lot of the buildings being sitting there for years and years. How would you change that? Would you just, rent out a company to come in there and get a rateable from that? Or would you allow, a certain amount of people to use it for community use? Would it depend on the location as well?
Well, look, I think it's a multi-faceted challenge. We have the challenge of abandoned houses, abandoned residences. We have the challenge of abandoned commercial buildings. and we have the challenge of underutilized commercial buildings. With my plan, I would address the top 10 worst residential eyesores in the township within 60 days of being sworn in. Those, and I would point out there are a couple of burnt out structures, one on Hollywood Drive in particular on Hollywood Drive that is infamous at this point in the Bromley area, one in Hamilton Square, which is also infamous. Those buildings will be down, and they will be put back into the mix of viable pieces of property that someone would want to develop. It's mind-boggling to me that the administration can't find their way into a way to address that. It's easy. You put pressure on the property owner. If they don't do it, you lien the property. You demolish the building with public funds, which is a cost. I understand that. You lien the property. If they don't take action, you condemn the property. You seize the property, and then you sell it at a profit. You sell it. I would say I would sell it to satisfy the liens and offer it to a developer. Look, years and years ago, we had a program where abandoned houses were addressed by a public-private consortium board that was in Hamilton Township. I don't know what happened to that board. I know one property in particular. It was an end property. It was an eyesore. The township took it down, and they sold it to the gentleman that lived next door. And he was a row house, and he had a side yard, and he was happy to get it. And it was no longer an eyesore, and you had the property was back into a viable piece of property in the township. These properties that are abandoned and burnt out drag the neighborhood down. Who's going to want to buy a house if somebody wants to sell their house and they're next to this burnt out hulk of wood and concrete? Who wants to buy a house next to them? What's it do? It drags their property values down. So addressing these issues, addressing abandoned buildings, is going to improve property values. I've talked before about the famous broken window problem. When there's a broken window, if you don't fix the broken window, it leads to another broken window. If you don't fix an abandoned property, it leads to crime, it leads to squatters. Down on, I think it was Randolph Avenue off of Layla Street, there was an abandoned building down there. Nobody paid attention to it, and all of a sudden they found out there were squatters in there cooking meth. Police department did a great job getting them out of there. But if it wasn't an abandoned building, if pressure had been put on the lenders, the owners, the recalcitrant owners, it wouldn't have come to that.
Oh, that's, yeah. I understand what you're talking about.
Let me address something. While you're looking
While you're
looking for another question, let me address something.
Go ahead.
One of the things I pointed out when I was in, when I announced my candidacy and also at my town hall meeting is I pointed out that I was interested in developing citizens advisory boards. Citizens advisory boards are very important. Hamilton Township has 88,000 or so people, all walks of life, all education and experience, and we should tap those individuals. Everybody's willing to help for a better township, and we should tap those individuals. We should have our animal shelter needs improvement. Nothing's been done to improve that animal shelter despite the rhetoric from the administration. There are experts in the town in animal rescue, animal treatment. There are people that would be willing to help, and I'd put a board together, and we'd seek out experts in the field to make sure we improve the animal shelter. But not just the animal shelter. I'd have an infrastructure board who would look at the DPW, means and methods of application of technologies. I find it kind of interesting that shortly after I announced that I wanted to put together these advisory boards, the council president announced that they did institute a citizens advisory board for the senior center. I found it interesting because it was after I said I wanted to do advisory boards, but I also found it interesting that the senior center is the best run program in the township. There are some deficiencies there. The administration has neglected the senior center. The roof went unrepaired for more than a year after funding resolution was put in place and money was there to do it. The roof went disrepaired. There were tarps on the roof for more than a year. I'm sure that there's substructure water damage to the joists of the building. The sign is still in a horrendous spot. They put a Band-Aid on the sign. Go walk, next time anybody's at the senior center, walk around the back and look at the back of the sign. The broken sign is right behind the sign that they screwed up on top of it. So, senior center is a gem. A lot of good programs. I was just there yesterday. I belong to the center. I'm a senior citizen. Had lunch with my constituents there and my fellow seniors. Nice program. Senior centers run great. So my question is, why did they pick the senior center to put an advisory panel together? Where's the advisory panel on the health department? Health department that just until just recently hadn't inspected many restaurants, although it's state law, restaurants have to be inspected annually, hadn't been inspected in 2 years. The restaurant that I frequent, owner came up to me not too long ago and said, hey, they came in and inspected my restaurant. The old one hadn't been, the old certificate was 2.5 years old. So citizen advisory panels are good. I don't know why they don't have more. I don't know why the legislative body doesn't implement more, particularly with the lack of efficiency in government and the poor manner in which the programs are being managed. So I know I jumped ahead of you, Gene.
No.
Go ahead and grab, that was on my list, so why don't you go ahead and grab another question for me?
No, what I want you to do is feel like this is your own and just talk as you need. Don't worry about me.
Well, I could talk.
Yeah, and that's good because, I
Well,
want to give you
let's
that
go-
time. I
let's
want to
go-
give you that time. I want everybody to say that I didn't give Dave the time to talk because that's what I'm trying to do. I'm listening and I'm just watching and listening. This man is incredible what he's saying and what he wants to do. So I hope you understand what he's saying because it's very important not only to this township, but everybody that's coming up in the township. And this Dave.
Let me touch on another thing.
Go ahead.
that's
I got a
really-
question. Go ahead.
Really makes me angry, Gene. So there's a culture of bullying inside the municipal building, inside our government. I will pledge that there will be no politicking inside government. Our civil service employees will not be pressured to work on campaigns, will not be pressured to put lawn signs up on people's property. To hold somebody's job in abeyance, their livelihood is it's criminal, and I hope something gets done about it. So there's not going to be any politicking on our property, or during work hours, or no pressure put on any employee to do anything political of a political nature. Additionally, when we talk about cronyism and nepotism and corruption, I am going to seek out the best people, the best qualified people for our positions, for my cabinet, directors' positions, and they're going to be vetted. And I'm going to do that in a bipartisan manner. Council will be advised and consent. Ultimately, it's the mayor's responsibility, and it will be my appointments. But I'll seek bipartisan agreement on best people. And I'm not going to. I'm not a politician. I'm not beholden to anybody. I don't have all the developers that have given me money that are going to expect for their agenda to be adhered to. I'm going to do what's right and fair for the people. I've said it. I've been saying it for months. Abraham Lincoln is one of the people that I look to for some of his sayings, and I feel very strongly. He said, of the people, for the people, and by the people. That's what government's about. When I'm mayor, I'll serve the people. People aren't going to serve me. I'm not going to expect to be adored the way the certain administration now looks to have that happen with them. I'm going to implement responsible government, responsible management. The managers are going to be experienced in what they do. When they tell their supervisors and their general foreman how to go out and do something, they'll make sure that the directors know how to do it, know how to get it done, and know where to get the training.
Well, my next question is actually, you kind of touched on it, but I want to go on to it again, is the road development. It's just crazy around our area, and the way they say it's a county road, it's not a county road, it's a township road, and then they're all doing it once. Shouldn't the planning or whoever does the roads knew about who's going to do what road when and plan it in a way so it doesn't affect so many people? I mean, you've got people coming from all different angles taking hours and hours to get to work, and they only live like 10 minutes away. It's been crazy. And you know what I'm talking about. The two roads coming together, and then just, the way they set it up, and they've got the construction guy there, they got the police there, and they don't allow you to go down your street. You got to go down the other way, and then, of course, you got to go through all the traffic. And a lot of people know what I'm talking about. How could you plan that differently if it's county road compared to township road, or compared to whatever road it is? Would you be able to find out what it is and then straighten that out, or have a notion of it before it happens, so you can plan it out, so at least it's a little bit better for the residents? You kind of understand what I'm saying?
Oh, I absolutely. Look,
It's a long question.
I couldn't get home the other day.
See what I mean?
So, and I want to add to that. Besides the county roads and the township roads
Right.
being paved at the same time and no interaction, how about if we throw in there when Public Service and Trenton Waterworks does a road gets paved, and then the next week they come in and
Yep.
change the gas mains
Yep.
and fix. Look, when you have an emergency and a water main breaks, nothing you can do about that. But there's been a lot of routine maintenance where we paved roads.
You're right.
Public Service has come in and done their work, and then Public Service comes back in and paves it again. But the initial investment of our paving was a waste. Well, I'm going to tell you what the answer is, Gene. And you said, how can I plan for it better? Did you say? Was your question, how could I plan for it better?
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to tell you how I could plan for it better. I could plan, because they don't have a plan. Look, at the end of the day, traffic and citizens in Hamilton Township, whether it's a county road or a state road or a township road, traffic and citizens in Hamilton Township are the responsibility of the mayor, the public safety director, oh wait, that's the same person, and the business administrator. And they don't have a plan. They don't have a plan. So the first step I would take is I'd make sure I had a plan. I wouldn't allow the two main thoroughfares going from the south side of town to the north side of town, Whitehorse, Hamilton Square Road.
It's a main thoroughfare.
And Whitehorse, Mercerville Road.
Right.
I wouldn't allow that to be torn up simultaneously. Planning. Look, the Whitehorse, Mercerville Road is a county road. The county's doing that work. Whitehorse, Hamilton Square Road is a township road that's being done under contract, but there needs to be planning. The resolution to pave Whitehorse, Hamilton Square Road was approved 2 years ago. Doesn't take 2 years to get together and plan, unless you want to make points during an election, unless you don't care about the people, unless you don't care about the aggravation, the angst, and the traffic problems that have to be handled. So the answer, how would I plan better? I'd plan. And I'd have people that know how to plan. The director of DPW doesn't have a plan. The business administrator, I got up 2 years ago in December when they wanted to take Dave Kenny, a former councilman, member of the 80 team, 12-year councilman, having no experience or no expertise to be a business administrator, and they made him a business administrator. I got up. I tried to make my voice heard. I'm on the record. You can go back and look at the minutes of the meeting. I said he shouldn't be business director. I'm going to say right now, I told you so. He doesn't know what he's doing.
Yeah.
He can't get out of his way. He doesn't answer a question at the council meeting. Tune into my live feed tonight, and you'll see that he won't answer a question. He'll say he'll get back to you, but he won't even take a note. He won't even write anything down. So the plan to make a better plan is to have a plan. Good. And to have people that know what they're doing and know how to make a plan.
It's a great answer. I mean, it's a great answer because, again, I was even thinking, if you can do it like at night, 6 o'clock to 12 o'clock at night, everybody's home, 7, 8 o'clock.
About what the plan would be.
No, but I'm saying
it would be a plan. But you're absolutely correct. Robbinsville's doing repaving right now, and they're doing it at night. Look, if you bring and it brings us Whitehorse, Hamilton Square Road. It's a private contractor under contract with Hamilton Township. There's no reason why they can't be doing it at night. I'm retired from the state of New Jersey. I'm retired from a couple of large engineering consulting firms. My company, along with my wife, we do environmental consulting, environmental health and safety. We've worked on projects as third-party health and safety coordinators with this very contract that it's working on Whitehorse, Hamilton Square Road.
Right.
They do most of their work out on the turnpike at night, so that they don't disrupt heavy traffic. You know, if they were doing that paving from say 7 o'clock at night to 6 o'clock in the morning, nobody would be put out by it. Thankfully, the job's done. I saw today on the way over here that they're just about done painting the lines. So hopefully that angst for our citizens on that particular project will pass. Whitehorse Hamilton Square Road seems that it will be no more detours there, which will help relieve the problems that have to do with the traffic from the construction on Whitehorse Merciful Road. And look, people need to understand that a certain amount of inconvenience has to be put in place when our roads get paved, but it doesn't have to be insurmountable.
Right, and I think that's where we're taking it, because a lot of my friends, friends that are their parents, you know, they go to these schools, they have after-school programs, they go to pick their kids up. You know, they're an hour too late. The person that's there is going to be an hour too late to wherever they got to go, and they get fined and get charged more money. I don't know if anybody knows that, but you get charged extra if you're 15 minutes, half an hour late to some of these schools. And I think it's horrible. You know, we get put in that position, but at the same time, I do understand inconvenience is important, because, you know, you got to have prosperity, you got to have growth, and you got to have expansion. But it could be limited.
Well,
A lot limited than what it is.
Traffic management plans
Traffic
and
flow.
planning and traffic flow can alleviate the inconvenience and minimize it, and we don't do that.
Well, that's something else I want to talk to you about. A lot of the roads had no turn on red on for a while. And now they've taken the road, they've taken the sign down in some of the places, or they made the sign either bigger on the side or where you can see it by the traffic. People don't obey that. People don't obey stop signs on school buses. I've seen this happen like time and time again. As I'm taking my daughter back and forth to her work, the school buses stop, people go right by. Is there anything that we can do about that, other than a DMV issue or a police issue? You know,
Well, ultimately, it's a police issue, and it's a difficult issue to address, you know, unless the police officer's right there.
or on the bus.
Or on the bus.
That's the best place for it to be.
Well, our police have enough to do, and they can't be doing that. But I think that, you know, it's a problem, and it needs to be addressed, but it's difficult to capture, because it's so in the moment, and if an officer's not there and he doesn't see it, he obviously can't do anything about it.
Yeah, but our children are at risk. That's the problem, you know.
Well,
And
and let me flywheel off of that into another
'Cause it's
issue
important,
that I
yeah.
think it's a problem. You know, Hamilton Township's had a tremendous amount of growth in the last and development in the last 20, 25, 30 years, and I've yet to see anybody do a comprehensive plan of traffic management. And I think that one of the things that this administration has been remiss in is holding the developers' feet to the fire when it comes to traffic management and improved traffic flow. And excuse me, I'll give you a glaring example. The intersection of Coosa Road and Clockner Road is now probably the worst intersection in Hamilton Township for accidents. That intersection was designed in the 50s. We've had Home Depot, Lowe's, Marketplace. We have a warehouse on the corner there. We have an assisted living facility. Nobody's done anything to redirect that intersection.
and the post office, don't forget that.
And the post office. The current administration had a perfect opportunity to get the warehouse and the assisted living facility to chip in and realign that corner to make sure it's not, you know, if you're coming down Clockner Road going towards Route 130, it's up and around the corner. The sight lines are terrible. The triangle of sight lines is terrible, and nobody addresses that. And look, that warehouse there, our planning department, our zoning department, and our administration dropped the ball. There should be acceleration and deceleration lanes for truck traffic entering and leaving that facility, egress and egress lanes. Nobody did that, and you know, I'll get off traffic a little bit. I think it's horrendous that they allowed that building to go up. There are no aesthetics. There are no nothing was put in there to make it pleasing to the neighborhood and pleasing to the eye as going by. And those are things that are incumbent upon an administration, and it's quality of life issues, and it's property value issues. So we have a traffic problem at that intersection. We have an ugly building that doesn't have any kind of aesthetic value. And we just have administrators that are turning a blind eye. There are tremendous amount of sites in the township where friends of the mayor aren't forced to abide by zoning regulations. Research and development zones where we have construction companies and landscape companies. That'll end. That's not going to happen under my administration.
That's good. That's really good. I appreciate that. Now, back to the animal shelter, I get a lot of questions from about that. What would you do different with the animal shelter? Because I know you're an animal lover as well, like I am. You have your own animals. I actually got an animal from there, one of our cats.
Well, you should be commended
Yeah.
for that. That's great.
But we have to open up the adoption more to them and do some features or different things.
And I don't get it because with all the publicity and all the people that we have people come up to the council meetings every week and say, I want to go in and take pictures of the animals so we could post them, and they're turned down over and over and over again. I don't get it. And the mayor stands up and says, we have the best animal shelter in the state, but there's nothing proactive to make that happen. And right now we have a director who has been charged with animal cruelty and official misconduct, and he's allowed to be still in charge of the animal shelter. Nothing has changed there. There's no experts being brought in for any analysis of efficiency there and improved methods. There are probably, I could name 5 animal rescue organizations off the top of my head that want to come in there and help rescue those dogs and those cats, and it's not happening. And I'll go back to the legislative body. They did a good job. It was a bipartisan committee that did their evaluation and their report, but they need to do more. Now, I'll give them the benefit of the doubt. The report just came out recently. Maybe they're going to do something else. The director needs to be removed. And I understand innocent until proven guilty, but if there's a shred of doubt about what's going on there, this isn't an allegation. There were 300 counts of animal cruelty. And, there's a CFO that we have that's on suspension now, paid leave, because of allegations. He's innocent until proven guilty also, but he's been removed. When police officers fall into a problem and there's allegations about them, they're put out on paid leave until it's resolved. So this director is in a situation where he's handling the same thing he's been accused of mishandling, and I think Jeff Plunkett needs to be removed. Another in a long line of bad cases where the mayor does not manage the issues of the township correctly.
So she actually made a lot of bad choices. Whoever told her to get these people, they were all bad choices. You knew it. A lot of other people knew it that were close to them. So how do you weed these people out? I mean, a lot of them are related. Some of them, like you say, cronyism. There's a lot of that. I know that. How do you weed them out? Especially if you get in there and say, "Oh, I'm going to get this person."
It's easy. It's easy to weed out the appointed positions. They'll all go immediately. I interviewed in the process of the Republican screening for a mayoral candidate, and it was so biased, and it was the typical corrupt cronyism. They were 4 Republicans who are in the mayor's administration, and they were deciding whether they should endorse the mayor or endorse me. So they asked me point blank, what would I do to improve the township? And frankly, the first thing I said to them was, fire all of them. And that would be the first thing I do. I'd fire all of them. As far as the animal shelter is concerned, look, there's a great facility down in Camden, the Camden County facility. I would take all of our civil service employees, all of our animal shelter people, I'd put them on a bus, I'd drive down to there, and I'd get them trained correctly. And I'd let them see how that place is run.
Right.
We went down there. I'm involved in, we own dogs. We have AKC breed. We're involved in animal rescue. I'm involved with the parent club of our breed. Each parent club in AKC is responsible to have a rescue for their breed. I got a heads up that one of our breed was down at that Camden County shelter, and I went down there and we took the dog out and put it into our rescue program. My wife and I actually took the dog into our charge until we found a place for him. And I got to say, I was extremely impressed. There was open and transparent. There were customer service oriented people, not dictatorial.
Right.
No, you can't go back there and look at the dogs. You know, if you go to the shelter right now, you can't go back and look at the dogs.
Yeah, I know. They
You're
told
going to
us
be
they
told
can't.
it's a liability issue. We went down to the Camden County shelter. People were going all over. They were being escorted by employees. Everybody understands there's liability issues. They had visit rooms where you could go into the room with the animal of your choosing and visit with them and see how they like them. Listen, we'll go back to the animal shelter. We did we, the township, the taxpayers, paid for a $1.4 million expansion to the animal shelter. It was supposed to include visit rooms. It does not. It was supposed to include quarantine rooms. It does not.
Right.
I went into that building about a year ago, and I looked around and I said, "Where's the $1.4 million? It looks like a bare cinder block structure with a roof on it. It certainly doesn't look like $1.4 million worth of work to me." And to go back to the Camden County shelter, there are qualified people there. There are a number of rescue groups that are in there daily. They take the dogs for walks. They look. Our animal shelter. We have volunteers that have gone in there that have been thrown out and banned for no reason other than they ask questions about the animals. Steve Clegg. I admire him a great deal. He's done a great job in exposing the shortcomings of this animal shelter and exposing the insidiousness of some of the people that work there. He was thrown out of there because he asked a couple questions about a couple of dogs that he was dealing with and taking care of. Look, an animal can be cage aggressive. You got to get him out of that situation. It's imperative to take him out for walks, to get him out in the public. The longer an animal stays in one of those cages, the more difficult it's going to be to place it.
I see that in my dog. I know exactly what you mean because we rescued a dog from Georgia, and same thing. Brindle boxer. If he sits too long or you don't take him for a walk, he gets exactly what you said,
Right.
almost like aggressive.
Right.
So he's got to break that. So that's a great thing.
Another thing you have to have a plan on. You have to have a plan. You have to execute the plan. You have to have a plan for the dogs. You have to have a plan for the employees. They need to do that too.
Need a leader. He's a good leader, this guy. He's good. Call in, people, 609-807-2492. Talk to Dave live, 609-807-2492. Ask him any questions you want. He's here for your time. And, I'm just going to let him have the rest of the time because I'm out of questions. But, I could ask him other things. If you want to email me some questions, you can do that at admin@hamiltonradio.net. I'll be glad to ask him any question you have. If you don't want to call in, that's fine. But if you want to, you can do that too. Anything you want to add to?
Well, another controversial issue in the township is fire consolidation. We really haven't touched on that yet.
Oh, yes.
I think, the firefighters and the citizens of Hamilton Township wanted consolidation a number of years ago, 4 or 5 years ago. And the all Republican council that worked for Mayor Yady kicked that can down the road for years. And now they're throwing stones at the effort that the bipartisan council is working on. I see a money grab. I see the administration wanting a money grab. The fire districts have probably somewhere in the neighborhood of $5 million surplus. They wanted to grab that money this year and put it in the budget to reduce taxes during a campaign year. They've kicked the can down the road, and they're going to ultimately cost the taxpayers of Hamilton Township more money unless the current plan is revised and a different plan is implemented. I have moved away from wanting to go to a municipal force immediately. I think that work needs to be done. Work could be done in a more efficient manner to move to a single district or even to two different districts, which may equalize the pay scale a little bit better and afford our taxpayers a savings. It's going to be quite a shock to the system to a number of districts. Ours, Whitehorse being one of them.
Right.
Whitehorse has a rather efficient and conservative pay structure for their firefighters. Some of the other districts have firefighters that are paid considerably more, and it'll be a jolt to the system when those firefighters are normalized.
All right, we have a phone call. Let's take the phone call right now for David. You don't have to. David Henderson. Put the speaker up so he's loud enough, please. Go ahead, Ruben. You can put him on through.
Hello.
Go ahead with your question.
Yeah, I was calling about the fire district issue, and I think Dave just touched on it. I wanted to pursue the single district model. I've been involved for 40 years, and I am a fire commissioner, and I've been involved with the entire process. And I just wanted to see how Dave felt about a single fire district with a 5-member board and not a municipal department.
Well, actually, at my announcement, when I announced that I was going to run for mayor, I did announce that I'm wholeheartedly in favor of a single district. I think that there are too many unknowns right now. It's been politicized. I think it's up in the air, and I think it would only be fair to the firefighters to figure out what steps being taken. And I think that the easiest step right now, and frankly, I don't know why anybody doesn't do it right this minute. Step back from the resolution to make it a municipal force, a municipal department right now, and go to a single district. I have.
Well, right, and I've been advocating that all along, and I got shut down for even mentioning that.
Well,
there is no plan that is supposed to go before the Department of Community Affairs. All they did was they threw the study in there, which was completely wrong, and said this is what we want to do. Now, granted, a single fire district rate, there will be winners and losers. But what was the purpose of going to a fire study and pushing for change? It was for a unified command structure. That's what the union wanted. That's what the chiefs wanted, and quite frankly, that's what the commissioners wanted. We wanted a unified structure. There were some issues with some districts that didn't have enough staff. They've met those staffing goals. District 5 and 8, they hired up people. So, in my opinion, now, I mean, either you go with one district or you just bag the whole thing.
Well, I agree with you 100%. If I was in charge tomorrow, I would move to one district. I would put that in place, and I'd move to it. Now, I have had some questions since I looked at it. I went back and looked at all some of the chiefs were kind enough to supply me with their budgets. I've looked at it, and I might think, and I still have to study it a little bit more and get some experts such as yourself to talk to me about it. But I think it may be more beneficial to the taxpayers if we have an interim step and make a move to 2 districts, because it seems that a number of the districts have a similar rate structure for salaries, and it would be less of a shock to the system of the taxpayers in those areas where the rate structure and the salaries are a little bit less. But look, I think we need to move. Something needs to be done.
I agree with you, Dave, and I'll hang up now and let somebody else call. Good show. It was kind of hard to connect, but I finally was able to pick up your broadcast.
Thanks for
Take care.
Thanks for the call, and thanks for the input.
You got it. Bye-bye.
Thank you for calling. Give us a couple seconds, guys, and we'll put it through.
Just to go back to close the loop on that. I think the administration looked at it as a money grab. They thought they were going to get a kick. They thought they were going to do it last year under the new council. They thought they were going to be able to grab that $5 to offset their taxes, and that would have been their tax reduction this year. And I think that it's we have a bunch of people that don't know how to run a fire department, don't know how to run a fire service. Dave Kenny and the mayor. and frankly, the business administrator doesn't even know how to negotiate. But the mayor and the business administrator don't know anything about the fire system and arbitrarily want to cut firemen. And I think that it's a disservice to the township, it's a disservice to the fire service, it's a disservice to the safety of the town.
Yeah, I agree. The residents
To
are
cut
always,
firemen.
yeah, the residents are always the ones you have to worry about. They're your, they're people that support you. So we have another phone call coming
But we'll
in.
go back and say,
Go ahead.
they don't have a plan.
Yeah, well, you're right. I mean, that's what it's all about.
We got another call.
We have another phone call. Go ahead, phone caller. You're live here on Hamilton Radio Live with David Henderson. Hold on. All right, well, go ahead when you're ready.
We're trying to get this connected. So let's talk a little bit about the firefighters again. I think that the caller made an important point,
Go ahead.
and that's command structure. I think command structure is important, and our public safety director, our mayor, who doesn't have a plan, has been remiss in protecting
Yes.
the public safety by not addressing the issues and moving forward the command structure.
I agree. We have a question.
We have a question coming up on Veterans Park, I think.
Yeah, it's anonymous, so we're going to keep it anonymous, no problem. No identity will be revealed.
Yours or mine?
No, I think the caller. I think the caller. But it really is about the residents, though, because again, you're the ones that support you. They're the ones that that deal with fire district and stuff like that.
Yep. And safety is paramount. And it's not just fires. It's emergency calls, it's calls for assistance, it's people
Right.
trapped in cars, it's
Right.
automobile accidents.
Right.
I think that a lot of times it's missed that the firefighters do all those things.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, they do. I have a lot of friends that are firefighters in the district, and some were actually the chiefs for a while. One of my friends, Michael, was one of the chiefs. So a lot of my friends are firefighters, and either in police as well, or EMT, or one of them. But yeah, they ask me questions all the time about that. How could it change, or how can we change for the better?
Well,
That's what we were talking about, changing for the better.
And to add to the controversy, I would move as a mayor, as a chief executive, I would move to take a look at how EMS and EMTs are managed, and the emergency medical services for ambulances, and how we would do that.
If you can't read that, I'll read it to you. Or
How are you going to regulate the field
this is Veterans Park now. We're talking
usage at the Mayo Field? Well, the question's still scrolling across the screen. It's basically how you're going to regulate the field usage at the Mayo Field, and it's an interesting question. It's another question that's dear to my heart. Look, I think that, and I pause a minute. At one point, Veterans Park was a jewel park of all of central New Jersey, and certainly of Hamilton Township. And I think it's fallen under hard times because nobody's addressing the maintenance of the fields, the maintenance of the park in general. I think that they look at the Mayo Field. There's particular interest in the Mayo Field, and they do a great job. The Mayo Field's a great field, but I think it needs to be used more. I think that I've recently been advised that Nottingham Babe Ruth is scheduled to use the Mayo Field, and on any kind of whim, they're bounced off that field and they can't use it, and they've been pushed over to McGlone Field, which is essentially a softball field. And McGlone Field, they've rolled out a wooden mound, and they've had Babe Ruth-age kids, 13, 14, 15, pitching off of a wooden mound, which is dangerous. Look, when a commitment's made to our youth to use a certain field for their league play, that commitment should be kept. And you know what? Maybe the problem is we need to build another field. But I think that if particular single interests are put in front of the rest of the community, I think that causes a problem. It causes a problem for me. Those fields belong to the people. They don't belong to particular individuals or particular teams for their exclusive use. I think that one of the things I'd like to explore, I think that there's entirely too much, to get a little bit, maybe a little bit far afield from the question, I think that there's entirely too much outside contractors used to maintain those fields. We have a large and healthy and qualified parks department working there all the time, and they should be doing some of that work internally instead of contracting it out to special friends. To go back to my concern with the rest of the park, Riverkeepers were at the last meeting and they brought something up which I had noticed for a long time. There's a stream that feeds the lake over at Veterans Park, and one side of the stream used to be a running trail and a walking trail, and there's so much debris piled up there, and I don't understand why we don't get that taken care of and why we don't clean that up. I think the rest of the park equipment in the children's playground is deteriorating. The trails are not maintained the way they used to be, and I'm not sure what the management's doing. Look, I'll go back to workers again. We got a great workforce. Workers want to do the right thing, but you need to motivate them to do the right thing. And if pride in workmanship is important, and when they see the directors and the mayor with little care about the maintenance of the park, the maintenance of the trails, the maintenance of the stream banks, it's a little disheartening to them too. They need to take pride. The directors and the mayor need to take pride in the township, and it's all over. It shows all over. Veterans Park is the pride, the jewel of the township. I think there are a lot of smaller parks that are in horrendous condition, that don't get the work that they need to do. And it's not like we don't have a large enough workforce. It's just that it's not planned correctly. They're not managed correctly, and they're not given the resources they need to address those parks. I have another question?
Did he answer your question? I don't know. I think whoever it was.
I think it came in on an email.
Yeah, I know.
Ruben, did that come in on an email?
Phone.
Did that come in on an email? Could you ask if I answered the question? All right.
All right.
I hope I did. So, great. Thanks.
Okay.
I don't know if did the radio audience hear that, Ruben? Did the radio audience hear that? Yeah. What you said? Okay, great. Thanks, Ruben.
Yeah, everybody heard. The other question that I have that somebody brought up in the chat is about the water. We get these notices every so often. There's like this whatever it is, halobathin or whatever it is, but it's a toxin. It's in our water. And they tell you don't do anything about it. And they say, well, it's not their fault. It's Trenton Water Supply. How would you communicate better with Trenton Water Supply to make sure that the residents and constituents of all of us are safe with the water that we consume?
Well, they tell you you can't do anything about it because you usually get a notice 2 months after it happened.
All right.
And so you can't.
And then it happens many years, like 3 or 4 years.
And the majority, the focus of that problem
Yes,
is,
you answered the question. The caller just called back and said, yes, you answered the call perfectly.
Thanks, Ruben. Thanks. Look, what do we have if we don't have safe water? We get a lot of rhetoric from the mayor about what is being done, but really nothing's being done. Look, I see some progress down at Trenton Water Works. Xing Fu was brought in. He was an associate of mine. I worked with him in the Department of Water Resources in the late 70s.
Oh, okay.
He's a veteran of the Department of Environmental Protection. I think that Trenton Water Works needs to do something to fill up the rest of their vacant positions, their technical positions there. They need some help. Xing Fu needs some help. But that's okay for Trenton Water Works. We're worried about Hamilton Township. And I told the administration and the governing body more than a year ago. It was last February, I believe. I, as mayor, would have had our township attorney, file a lawsuit against Trenton Water Works. I understand we want to be good neighbors, but guess what? Trenton Water Works is a utility. They're providing us water. And I would have sued them on a contractual basis. There's a contract there. The ratepayers in Hamilton Township, their part of the contract is they pay their bill. Trenton Water Works part of the contract is they supply clean water. Well, we're paying our bill, and they're not supplying clean water. I recommended that that the township open up an escrow account, that people pay their water bill into that escrow account to squeeze Trenton Water Works. Money talks. We remember that. Money talks.
I like that.
They'll be motivated to fix things if they're not getting their money. And sue them for not providing our people with good water. Again, our mayor...
Hold them accountable. Hold them accountable.
Our mayor, our public safety director, same person. They're responsible for the safety of our individuals in Hamilton Township,
Yeah.
and nothing's being done. All we hear is rhetoric. Last February, I brought the question up. Business administrator said, well, the mayor wrote a letter 6 years ago. He actually said that. She wrote a letter 6 years ago. That's when I recommended taking action. Hold them accountable. You know what? They don't have a plan. Again, we go back to no plan.
Well, guys, it's 2:00. If there's any last questions we can get in real quick, or Dave, I'm going to let Dave have the rest of the time to just talk about, a little summary of what he plans on doing when he becomes mayor. And that's it, guys. I mean, this is your chance to change things. This guy is a good guy. He knows what he's talking about, and he's got the right people around him that support him, that know what they're talking about. So, Dave, take the rest of the time for yourself.
Thanks. And again, I want to thank you and Ruben for
You're welcome.
for having me in, and all the expert stuff that Ruben did to make this a smooth
Smooth as
show.
possible.
No, it was a pleasure. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the platform. I'm a lifetime Hamiltonian. Hamilton deserves better than what we have now. We deserve better roads. You know what? We don't always have the money to replace our roads, but if we go out and fill the cracks with tar, I touched on doing open requests. Did an open request for a road management plan. Township doesn't even have a road management plan. The road management plan would say, when a crack is a 1/4 inch thick, we fill it with tar. We make sure that water doesn't infiltrate that crack to freeze and heave and ruin the pavement. That we have a pothole so big we fill it. There's no road management plan. There's no plan. There's no plan. When you go to the council meeting and the business administrators ask, well, why are we doing that? There's a resolution up to allow to change the zoning to allow residences in storefronts and commercial highway properties. Yes, well, why are we doing that now? Well, we have a lot of people that are already doing that. So, they were breaking the law. And look, let's utilize the property. Let's keep it maximized. Let's have them turn it into an apartment. But here's the problem: they're breaking the law. So why didn't we make changes prior to them breaking the law, so they didn't have to be breaking the law? And when they turned those into apartments, did we do inspections to make sure the proper plumbing is in there? Did we do inspections to make sure the proper fire protection's in there? That same meeting, the chief got up and said, we don't even know that's going on. So the chief needs to know it so that he can protect them in a fire situation. We got to wrap up? Okay. So we need a plan, and we need to follow the plan. One of the things that I want to do, we have a master plan in Hamilton Township. It's about 12 years old. Master plan hasn't been revisited. I would revisit the master plan, and I would enforce the master plan. I would make sure that all those stipulations that are set forth for quality of life would be kept in place. I would do the best I could to look. We're a free capital society. There are land use laws. People can come and build things in a zone that they want to build things in under the law. But I would do my best to point people away from new construction on pristine ground. I don't want to cut down any more trees until all of our abandoned buildings and structures are redeveloped. Why aren't we doing something that we're talking about? The administration's talking about cutting trees down on Sam Alito Way, one of the most valuable properties in the township that's owned by the township, and they want to cut trees down to take a shortcut for affordable housing because they haven't done anything for the last 5 or 6 or 7 years on affordable housing, and they want to cut those trees down while the ShopRite, the old ShopRite Plaza still sits there abandoned for 25 years. So my plan would be don't cut down trees until we get all of our areas redeveloped, rehabilitated.
Wow.
Anybody have a question? I think my website, my Elect Henderson Mayor website was up. Send me questions, email me, call me. I'm always available. If you have a group that you want, a civic organization, you'd like to hear me talk about what my plan is, let me know. I'll be there for you. Thanks. And get out and vote for me on June 4th. Unaffiliated voters can vote in a Republican primary. All they have to do is go out there and say, declare at their normal polling place and say, I want to vote in a Republican primary. And you can vote for me, and you can vote for change, and you can vote for a better Hamilton. Thank you. Thank you, Gene.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Ruben. Thank you, viewers.
I love it, guys. There you go. Thank you all for listening, calling in, on Facebook. We'll be sharing this throughout the day. Again, Dave, he's an awesome guy, and he wants to be your mayor. So let's do it. Hamilton Radio. Goodbye. Have a good day.
Thanks.